Shalom, my name is Adam, and I welcome you to the parable of the vineyard. Every day, Yahuah is waking up a remnant, a group of people who are coming out of deceptions, realizing our walk is to consist of faith and obedience to his righteous commands. Each week, we read through and examine a portion of the Torah, allowing the Spirit of the Most High to guide, teach, and open our eyes and ears to the wondrous matters out of his law. Join us as we seek to be refined by his word, preparing ourselves for the return of our King of Kings, being faithful and obedient, walking in his way, truth, and life. And shalom and welcome back, brothers and sisters. Welcome to the Parable of the Vineyard YouTube Torah portion live stream. My name is Adam, your host, and I welcome you. We're still in week 1, Bereshiyth. There's so much included in the first portion, chapter 1 through chapter 6, verse 8. So we decided to break it up in 2 parts. We did the same thing last year. Shabbat, we did chapters 1 through 3. And so tonight we're going to do chapters 4, 5, and then 8 verses in chapter 6. So let's go ahead and get started with some prayer and ask Abba to open our eyes and ears and to bless this study. Heavenly Father, Yahuah Most High, we just come before you together as your children that love you. We thank you for the ability to gather together like this. We pray that you bless this study. We pray that you open our eyes and ears to your word, that we may hear and we may do your word. We love you. We bless you. And amen and amen. All right, brothers and sisters. So I saw the chat. A couple of you guys are concerned about the thumbnail. I think one of the biggest parts about this portion is the watchers, the truth about the sons of Elohim coming down and essentially corrupting his earth. So that's kind of what the thumbnail is about. So if it's too offensive for you, I'll switch it out. So in any case, let's go ahead and get started, and we will read Genesis chapter 4. And again, what we're going to do is we're going to be reading from the Sefer version, but what we're doing is we're going to be playing for you the Word audio project, which actually, if you're not familiar with it, if you go to my channel, you go to the recommended tab here, you'll see the second one down is called The Word. And if you're not familiar, basically what we've been commissioned to do is to record the entire Sefer, essentially, and some other books like the 12 Patriarchs and others. And we're doing it in a studio production, dramatized with custom music and sound effects and all that kind of stuff to kind of bring the word alive. So we will be Genesis should be released actually in a few weeks, probably by the end of this month. And yeah, so we're excited about that. So let's get started. We'll read chapter 4, and then we'll discuss a little bit. So here we go.
Bereshiyth, Genesis, chapter 4. And Adam knew Yahuah his woman, and she conceived and bore Cain and said, I have gotten a man from Yahuah. And she again bore his brother Havel, and Havel was a keeper of sheep, but Cain was a tiller of the ground. And in the process of time it came to pass that Cain brought of the fruit of the ground an offering unto Yahuah. And Havel, he also brought the firstlings of his flock and the fat thereof. And Yahuah had respect unto Havel and his offering, but unto Cain and to his offering he had not respect. And Cain was very wroth, and his countenance fell. And Yahuah said unto Cain, Why are you wroth, and why is your countenance fallen? If you do well, shall you not be accepted? And if you do not well, sin lies at the door. And unto you shall be his desire, and you shall rule over him. And Cain talked with Havel his brother, and it came to pass when they were in the field that Cain rose up against Havel his brother, and slew him. And Yahuah said unto Cain, Where is Havel your brother? And he said, I know not. Am I to guard my brother? And he said, what have you done? The voice of your brother's blood cries unto me from the ground. And now are you cursed from the earth, which has opened her mouth to receive your brother's blood from your hand. When you till the ground, it shall not henceforth yield unto you her strength. A fugitive and a vagabond shall you be in the earth. And Cain said unto Yahuah, my punishment is greater than I can bear. Behold, you have driven me out this day from the face of the earth, and from your face shall I be hid. And I shall be a fugitive and a vagabond in the earth. And it shall come to pass that everyone that finds me shall slay me. Yahuah said unto him, therefore, whosoever slays Cain, vengeance shall be taken on him sevenfold. And Yahuah set a mark upon Cain, lest any finding him should kill him. And Cain went out from the presence of Yahuah, and dwelt in the land of Nod on the east of Eden. And Cain knew his woman, and she conceived, and bore Hanok. And he built a city, and called the name of the city after the name of his son, Hanok. And unto Hanok was born Irad, and Irad begat Mehujael, and Mehujael begat Methusael, and Methusael begat Lamech. And Lamech took unto him 2 women. The name of the one was Ada, and the name of the other Silla. And Ada bore Yaval. He was the father of such as dwell in tents, and of such as have cattle. And his brother's name was Yuval. He was the father of all such as handle the harp and the organ. And Silla, she also bore Tubal-Cain, an instructor of every artificer in brass and iron. And the sister of Tubal-Cain was Naamah. And Lamech said unto his women Ada and Zillah, hear my voice, you women of Lamech, hearken unto my speech. For I have slain a man to my wounding, and a young man to my hurt. If Cain shall be avenged sevenfold, truly Lamech 70 and sevenfold. And Adam knew his woman again, and she bore a son, and called his name Seth. For Elohim, she said, has appointed me another seed instead of Havel, whom Cain slew. And to Seth, to him also there was born a son, and he called his name Enosh. Then began man to call upon the name of Yahuah.
Okay, so that was chapter 4, and hopefully you guys enjoyed that. I know some of you are like, music, I can't stand it. Don't worry, we will have a version out that won't have any background music for you all that can't stand it. For me and for many others, I feel like the music really actually helps me learn personally, but let's go over a couple things in chapter 4, and tonight we're going to be doing a lot of cross-referencing with Jasher and Jubilees, and so there's actually going to be quite a bit of reading tonight. So first of all, first thing I want to mention is, based off of what Genesis states here, it kind of leaves it open to interpretation, and most people thought that Cain and Abel were twins, but that's actually not the case. And the Jubilees account, it's very specific that there was plenty of time that was in between, maybe like 15 years, I think. Also, the first book of Adam and Eve, I think it was almost exactly 15 years difference between them in age. So not a huge point, but just it's worthy of note. Also, here in verse 7, it says actually verse 5 through 7, it says that Cain's offering was not accepted, and the Septuagint actually tells us a little bit more about why that happened. So let's read from the Septuagint version. Let's see, verse 3, it was so after some time that Cain brought of the fruits of the earth a sacrifice to Yahuah, and Abel also brought of the firstborn of his sheep and of his fatlings. And Elohim looked upon Havel and his gifts, but Cain and his sacrifices he regarded not, and Cain was exceedingly sorrowful, and his countenance fell. And Yahuah Elohim said to Cain, why are you become very sorrowful, and why is thy countenance fallen? Hast thou not sinned if thou hast brought it rightly, but not rightly divided it? Be still, to thee shall be his submission, and thou shalt rule over him. So even in these very first days, there was a process. There was a certain way that it was supposed to be divided, a certain way it was supposed to be handled, and apparently Cain didn't do that, so it just showed like a lack of effort or even a lack of maybe care on Cain's part. In the book of First Adam and Eve, it's even a little clear that Cain just he's just going through the motions. He doesn't really care about this stuff. He just doesn't have the heart for Yah. But let's keep going, because there's so much to touch on tonight. It's in verses 10 through 11, where he says, "And what have you done? The voice of your brother's blood cries unto me from the ground. And now are you cursed from the earth, which has opened her mouth to receive your brother's blood from your hand." So there's just, obviously, there's something to everything that Yahuah has created. Just the majesty of everything. We talked about this a couple days ago when we did part 1 about really appreciating what he's made and realizing that he's the OG. I mean, like, I'm not trying to be funny, but like, like an artist with an original painting, it's still not even original. I mean, think about Yahuah, who even created the colors, the various colors that even exists for that artist to use, or if that artist paints something in nature, well, Yahuah made that, so he is the original. But not getting too far off topic here. There's something to blood that it's just, well, it says the scripture says that the blood is the life of the flesh. And that's why so often he says not to drink the blood. Let's actually just read a couple verses in Leviticus 17. Let's do 10 through 6. "And whatsoever man there be of the house of Israel, or of the strangers that sojourn among you, that eats any manner of blood, I will even set my face against that soul that eats the blood, and will cut him off from among his people. For the soul of the flesh is in the blood," right? In the other versions we're used to, it says the life. This, I think more properly, the soul of the flesh is in the blood. "He and I have given it to you upon the altar to make an atonement for your souls, for it is the blood of him that makes an atonement in the soul. Therefore I said unto the children of Israel, no soul of you shall eat the blood, neither shall any stranger that sojourns among you eat blood. And whatsoever man there be of the children of Israel, or of the strangers that sojourn among you, which hunts and catches any beast or fowl that may be eaten, he shall even pour out the blood thereof, and cover it with dust. For it is the life of all flesh, the blood of it is for the life thereof. Therefore I said unto the children of Israel, ye shall eat the blood of no manner of flesh, for the life of all flesh is the blood thereof. Whosoever eats it shall be cut off." And so there's just something to it, and that's obviously why the so-called elites that run the world are harvesting this stuff, be very careful going to blood banks and whatnot. I'm sure some of that gets used for whatever is needed, but is that even how it's supposed to be done? Are we supposed to be just willy-nilly just giving our blood around? And I don't know. I got super convicted like a year ago when I went for a checkup, and they took 6 vials of my blood, and I was just thinking to myself, man, should I really be doing this? Who knows what they do with blood banks, and because these people, they literally eat the blood because it preserves the flesh. It makes them live a little bit longer. Some would even venture to say that it gives them some sort of extra power of some sort. Certainly we know it's used in occult rituals and practices and whatnot. So, yeah. So anyways, I said all that to say this. It's just interesting that the voice of your brother's blood cries unto me from the ground, because it's man, I just couldn't even imagine how that works. Moving on, verse 15, "And Yahuah said unto him, Therefore whosoever slays Cain, vengeance shall be taken on him sevenfold. And Yahuah set a mark upon him." Also, let's take a look at the Septuagint version. It's a little interesting with the mark of Cain. Where are we at? Here we go. "And now," this is the Septuagint version, "and now thou art cursed from the earth, which has opened her mouth to receive thy brother's blood from thy hand. When thou tillest the earth, then it shall not continue to give its strength to you. Thou shalt be groaning and trembling on the earth. And Cain said to Yahuah Elohiym, My crime is too great for me to be forgiven. If thou castest me out this day from the face of the earth, and I shall be hidden from thy presence, and I shall be groaning and trembling upon the earth, then it will be that anyone that finds me shall slay me. And Yahuah Elohiym said to him, Not so. Anyone that slays Cain shall suffer sevenfold vengeance. And Yahuah Elohiym set a mark upon Cain, that no one that found him might slay him. So Cain went forth from the presence of Elohim, and dwelt in the land of Nod over against Edom. So, as with all interesting topics, we could probably talk about that, the mark of Cain, for an hour itself, and there's much speculation to exactly what that mark is. I mean, I've heard everything from, he was made a werewolf to, I've just heard so many different opinions on this, and I don't know that I really have one, but certainly there was something that was placed on Cain, which is pretty clear what the text says, that whoever would kill him would suffer 7 times 7, which is, what we saw at the end here. Right here. Lamech, where he said unto his woman, Ada and Zillah, hear my voice, you women of Lamech, hearken unto my speech, for I have slain a man to my wounding, and a young man to my hurt. If Cain shall be avenged sevenfold, truly Lamech 70 and sevenfold. And unfortunately, the 5 books of the Torah don't explain this for us, but it's actually explained in the book of Jasher pretty clearly, which we'll read here right now. So let's pull up Jasher and Jubilees. Okay, so let's read Jasher chapter 2, verses 1 through 36. And it was the 130th year of the life. And by the way, if you're new, Jasher was mentioned in the scriptures twice. I know it was in Samuel and it was in Joshua. I think Joshua 10:13 maybe, and also somewhere in Samuel. I can't remember. But the book of Jasher was mentioned twice by name. It said, are these things not written in the book of Jasher? Some would speculate that this book we're about to read is not that same book. I venture to say that it is. That's up for you to decide. And it was in the 130th year of the life of Adam upon the earth that he again knew his wife, Eve his wife, and she conceived and bare a son in his likeness and in his image. And she called his name Seth, saying, Because Elohim has appointed me another seed in the place of Abel, for Cain has slain him. And Seth lived 105 years, and he begat a son, and Seth called the name of his son Enosh, saying, Because in that time the sons of men began to multiply and to afflict their souls and hearts by transgressing and rebelling against Elohim. By the way, what we're about to read here is filling in like everything that we didn't get in chapter 4 of Genesis. And it was in the days of Enosh that the sons of men continued to rebel and transgress against Elohim, to increase the anger of Yahuah against the sons of men. And the sons of men went and they searched other Elohim, and they forgot Yahuah, who had created them in the earth. And in those days the sons of men made images of brass and iron and wood and stone, and they bowed down and served them. And every man made his god, and they bowed down to them. And the sons of men forsook Yahuah all the days of Enosh and his children. And the anger of Yahuah was kindled on account of their works and abominations which they did in the earth. And Yahuah caused the waters of the river Gihon to overwhelm them, and he destroyed and consumed them, and he destroyed the third part of the earth. And notwithstanding this, the sons of men did not turn from their evil ways. Their hands were yet extended to do evil in the sight of Yahuah. So he kind of had like a little mini flood. He's like, let me just do this, and let me reprove them, and they'll come back. And they didn't. And in those days there were neither sowing nor reaping in the earth, and there was no food for the sons of men, and the famine was very great in those days. And the seed which they sowed in those days in the ground became thorns and thistles and briars. For from the days of Adam was this declaration concerning the earth, the curse of Elohim, which he cursed the earth on account of the sin which Adam sinned before Yahuah. And it was when men continued to rebel and transgress against Elohim, and to corrupt their ways, that the earth also became corrupt. And Enosh lived 90 years, and he begot Canaan. And Canaan grew up, and he was 40 years old. And he became wise, and had knowledge and skill and all wisdom, and he reigned over all the sons of men. And he led the sons of men to wisdom and knowledge, for Canaan was a very wise man, and had understanding in all wisdom. And with his wisdom he ruled over spirits and demons. Sounds like a Solomon almost, like a precursor to Solomon. And Canaan knew by his wisdom that Elohim would destroy the sons of men for having sinned upon the earth, and that Yahuah would in the latter days bring upon them the waters of the flood. And in those days Canaan wrote upon the tablets of stone what was to take place in time to come, and he put them in his treasures. And Canaan reigned over the whole earth and turned some of the sons of men to the service of Elohim. And when Canaan was 70 years old, he begat 3 sons and 2 daughters. And these are the names of the children of Canaan. The name of the firstborn, Mahalalel, the second, Enan, the third, Mered. And their sisters were Ada and Zillah. These are the 5 children of Canaan that were born to him. And Lamech, the son of Methusael, became related to Canaan by marriage. Now, this is a uniting of Cain's lineage and Seth's lineage. And Lamech, the son of Methusael, became related to Canaan by marriage, and he took his 2 daughters for his wives, Ada conceived and bare a son to Lamech, and she called his name Jabal. And she again conceived and bare a son, and called his name Ubal. And Zillah, her sister, was barren in those days and had no offspring. Listen to this. This is really interesting. It's horrible, but interesting. For in those days, the sons of man began to trespass against Elohim and to transgress the commandments which he had commanded to Adam to be fruitful and multiply in the earth. So this was a command. It was literally a command to reproduce and have children. And some of the sons of men caused their wives to drink a draught that would render them barren, in order that they might retain their figures and whereby their beautiful appearance might not fade. So they literally had them drink this drink that would render them barren, so they wouldn't have kids, so they would retain their nice figures. And when the sons of men caused some of their wives to drink, Zillah drank with them. And the childbearing women appeared abominable in the sight of their husbands as widows, whilst their husbands lived, for to the barren ones only they were attached. And in the end of days and years, when Zillah became old, Yahuah opened her womb, and she conceived and bare a son, and she called his name Tubal-Cain, saying, After I had withered away, have I obtained him from the Almighty Elohim. And she conceived again and bare a daughter, and she called her name Naamah, for she said, After I had withered away, have I obtained pleasure and delight. And Lamech was old and advanced in years, and his eyes were dim that he could not see. Now listen, this is the death of Cain. And this is why Lamech says, truly, I will be recompensed 70 times 7, right? Yeah, 70 times. 70 and sevenfold. And Lamech was old and advanced in years, and his eyes were dim that he could not see. And Tubal-Cain his son was leading him. And it was one day that Lamech went into the field, and Tubal-Cain his son was with him. And whilst they were walking in the field, Cain, the son of Adam, advanced towards them, for Lamech was very old and could not see much. And Tubal-Cain his son was very young. And Tubal-Cain told his father to draw his bow, and with the arrows he smote Cain, who was yet afar off, and he slew him. For he appeared to them to be an animal. And this is also why some people say that Cain was like, something. And the arrows entered Cain's body, although he was a distant from them, and he fell to the ground and died. And Yahuah requited Cain's evil according to his wickedness, which he had done to his brother Abel, according to the word of Yahuah which he had spoken. And it came to pass when Cain had died that Lamech and Tubal went to see the animal which they had slain. And they saw, and behold, Cain their grandfather was fallen dead upon the earth. And Lamech was very much grieved at having done this, and in clapping his hands together, he struck his son and caused his death. And the wives, and this is where it said, this is why it said, here it says, Hearken to my speech, for I have slain a man to my wounding, and a young man to my hurt. And so, slain a man, he slew Cain, and he accidentally killed his son, the young man, right? And that's what it's talking about here. And the wives of Lamech heard what Lamech had done, and they sought to kill him. And the wives of Lamech hated him from that day, because he slew Cain and Tubal-Cain. And the wives of Lamech separated from him and would not hearken to him in those days. And Lamech came to his wives, and he pressed them to listen to him about this matter. And he said to his wives, Ada and Zillah, Hear my voice, O wives of Lamech. Attend to my words. For now you have imagined and said that I slew a man with my wounds, and a child with my stripes, for their having done no violence. But surely know that I am old and gray-headed, and that my eyes are heavy through age, and I did this thing unknowingly. And the wives of Lamech listened to him in this matter, and they returned to him with the advice of their father Adam. But they bore no children to him from that time, knowing that Elohim's anger was increasing in those days against the sons of men, to destroy them with the waters of the flood for their evil doing. So that was the death of Cain. Let's take a look at Jubilees 4, verses 1 through 6. And in the third week, in the second Jubilee, she gave birth to Cain, and in the fourth, she gave birth to Havel. See, this is where it's the two, they weren't twins. And in the fourth, she gave birth to Havel, and in the fifth, she gave birth to her daughter Awan. And in the first year of the third Jubilee, Cain slew Havel because Elohim accepted the sacrifice of Havel and did not accept the offering of Cain. And he slew him in the field, and his blood cried from the ground to heaven, complaining because he had slain him. And Yahuah reproved Cain because of Havel, because he had slain him, and he made him a fugitive on the earth because of the blood of his brother, and he cursed him upon the earth. And on this account it is written on the heavenly tablets, "Cursed is he who smites his neighbor treacherously, and let all who have seen and heard say, so be it. And the man who has seen and not declared it, let him be accursed as the other. And for this reason we announce when we come before Yahuah Elohiנו all the sin which is committed in heaven and on earth, and in light and in darkness and everywhere." Interesting. Okay, let's go to chapter 5. And we'll again, if you're just joining us, we will be listening to the Word audio, which is right here. You can subscribe. This is where we'll have this recording project when it's ready. Okay.
Bereshiyth, Genesis chapter 5. This is the sefer of the generations of Adam. In the day that Elohim created man, in the likeness of Elohim made he him. Male and female created he them, and blessed them, and called their name Adam, in the day when they were created. And Adam lived 130 years, and begot a son in his own likeness after his image, and called his name Seth. And the days of Adam after he had begotten Seth were 800 years, and he begat sons and daughters. And all the days that Adam lived were 930 years, and he died. And Seth lived 105 years, and begot Enosh. And Seth lived after he begot Enosh 807 years, and begat sons and daughters. And all the days of Seth were 912 years, and he died. And Enosh lived 90 years, and begot Canaan. And Enosh lived after he begot Canaan 815 years, and begat sons and daughters. And all the days of Enosh were 905 years, and he died. And Canaan lived after he begot Mahalalel 840 years, and begot sons and daughters. And all the days of Canaan were 910 years, and he died. And Mahalalel lived 65 years, and begot Yared. And Mahalalel lived after he begot Yared 830 years, and begot sons and daughters. And all the days of Mahalalel were 895 years, and he died. And Yared lived 162 years, and he begat Hanok. And Yared lived after he begot Hanok 800 years, and begat sons and daughters. And all the days of Yared were 962 years, and he died. And Hanok lived 65 years, and he begot Methuselah. And Hanok walked with Elohim after he begot Methuselah 300 years, and begot sons and daughters. And all the days of Hanok were 365 years, and Hanok walked with Elohim, and he was not, for Elohim took him. And Methuselah lived 187 years, and begot Lamech. And Methuselah lived after he begot Lamech 782 years, and begot sons and daughters. And all the days of Methuselah were 969 years, and he died. And Lamech lived 182 years, and begot a son. And he called his name Noach, saying, "This same shall comfort us concerning our work and toil of our hands, because the ground which Yahuah has cursed." And Lamech lived after he begot Noach 595 years, and begot sons and daughters. And all the days of Lamech were 777 years, and he died. And Noach was 500 years old, and Noach begot Shem, Ham, and Japheth.
Okay, so some interesting things here, even just on a chapter with, with a lineage. A couple things that I really want to talk about. Some of you may already be familiar because we've talked about it a few times. Let me scroll up to the top. So first thing, let's talk about this for a second. So it says, we were made in the likeness of Elohim. That's pretty. That's pretty big shoes to fill. Made in the image of Elohim. It's like, again, going back to, he created without any pattern to follow, without any example. Because even Solomon says in Ecclesiastes, that there's nothing new under the sun. What's been before will happen again. That's all true, except for in the case of Yahuah, because there was just nothing. And just, I don't know. I guess, look at the human body. I guess we think that, like, I'm fumbling at my words. I'm not trying to sound weird, but like, the way he made us, everything from the eyes and the nose and the mouth and the ears and the arms and the legs, and it sounds silly, but like, these are the things that we just, it's just normal day stuff. Like, oh yeah, okay, Adam, we have ears and eyes, so what? Well, like, not so what? Like, that's just amazing. How everything works, about how he gives us eyes that we may see his beauty, and the beauty of his creation, the ears that we may understand each other, we may understand speech, can hear his word, touch, we can interact with his creation. We have our voice, we can speak with understanding. I guess there's just so much that comes with being made in the image of Elohim. And we've got all the emotions that come with it. He's got emotions, right? He says he's a jealous El. He's a jealous God. Don't serve anybody else. Don't go a-whoring yourself. We get jealous. Anyways, I could talk about this for a while too, but there's so much to talk about. So just think about that. Sometimes, like last a couple days ago in the first part, we were talking about just the amazement of creation in taking a moment out of your day and thanking him for what he has created. How about thanking him for making us in the image of him? Fingers. What if he what if everything would have been the same, but he didn't make thumbs, or the big toe? Everything would be different, just the smallest details just make the biggest difference, so. And it says here, male and female, he created them, which, by the way, some of you were taken very off guard by me bringing up Lilith. Let me just say this. I should have prefaced it like, whether that hypothesis of Lilith is true or not, it really doesn't change anything. I meant to just let you know, I found it interesting that in the dream vision of Enoch, it seems to allude to two women being created in the beginning, one with Adam as it seemed, and then one afterwards. So, some of you had brought up some pretty, some comments in that you were concerned about me bringing that up. Again, I don't know that it changes much, because the story still goes that all life came through Eve, and whatever Lilith did or did not do, I don't know. Most of it's just legend. There isn't much to go off of. There's one passage in Isaiah that the KJV translated her as a screech owl, but the Hebrew word was Lilith. In 2nd Baruch, she's mentioned as well, saying that she dwells in the desert. But outside of that, it's mostly just traditions, or it's folklore, or there is some stuff in the Talmud, but I'm not really interested in really researching that. So forgive me for just throwing that out there. I just found it interesting, and it was kind of like a, hey, what do you all think about this? It wasn't like, hey, I'm teaching about Lilith, So anyways, but, with that being said, male and female, he created them. And boy, are we living in the last days when this is like becoming like not okay, for some people. And this just gets, life just gets really confusing when you've got these people that want to look like these people, and then these people that want to look like these people, and you got these people that want to act like these people, and then these people that want to act like those people. It's just super confusing, and that's what Satan does, and he does so well, is he takes the word of Yah and he twists it, and the word of Yah says it's male and female, but we're living in the days where that's not okay anymore. He made a man to be with a woman, but that is becoming hate speech. Just crazy times we're living in. And, standing up for this, standing up for male and female, that's Torah, Just all of this is Torah, all of it. Okay, what else do I want to talk about? Okay, so the death of Adam. So there's an interesting story. It says, in all the days of Adam lived were 930 years, and he died. There's an interesting story written in the book of, it's called a book called Life of Adam and Eve. It's also called the Apocalypse of Moses. And, I've read this book several times, and I do believe that it is inspired. And I know many of you might have some other words, but this is something I tested very closely when I was reading the first book of Adam and Eve and some other books like this, early writings. So let's just read a couple things about the death of Adam. Here we go. Let's start here. Verse 43. But this is Michael talking. But you, Seth, go to your father Adam, for the time of his life is complete. 6 days hence, and his soul will go forth from his body. And when it does, you will see great wonders in heaven and on earth, and the lights of heaven. Saying this, Michael at once withdrew from Seth. Seth and Eve went home, carrying with them a small branch, and spices, nard, crocus, cannabosum, and cinnamon. And when Seth and his mother reached Adam, they said to him, when Seth and his mother reached Adam, they said to him, that beast, the serpent, had bitten Seth. And Adam said to Eve, what have you done? You have brought on us great affliction, fault and sin unto all our generations. What have you done? What you have done will be passed on to your children after my death. For those who will arise from us will not have all they need from their labors, but will be lacking. They will curse us, saying, our parents, who were from the beginning, brought all these evils upon us. Hearing this, Eve began to weep and moan. Just as Michael had predicted, after 6 days the death of Adam came. When Adam knew that the hour of his death had come, he said to all of his children, now I am 930 years old, and if I die, bury me beside the great garden of Elohim near his dwelling. And it happened that, when he had finished all his words, he gave up his spirit. The sun, moon, and stars grew dark for 7 days. Seth embraced the body of his father and mourned over it. Eve cast her eyes upon the ground with her hands clasped above her head and her head placed on her knees. All her children wept with her very bitter tears. Then Michael the angel appeared, standing at Adam's head, and said to Seth, arise from the body of your father, and come and see with me, and see what Yahuah Elohiym has arranged for him. He is his creature, and he has taken pity on him. Then all the angels playing trumpets said, blessed are you, Yahuah, for you have taken pity on your creature. Then Seth saw the hand of Yahuah outstretched, holding Adam. He handed him over to Michael, saying, let him be in your care until the day of retribution, in supplication until the last years, when I shall change his mourning into joy. Then he will sit on the throne of him who beguiled him. Again Yahuah said to the angels, Michael and Uriel, bring me 3 linen shrouds and stretch them over Adam. Bring other shrouds and stretch them over Abel his son. Then bury Adam and his son. And all the virtues of the angels processed before Adam, and thus was the dormition of the dead sanctified. And the angels Michael and Uriel buried Adam and Abel in the regions of paradise, which Seth and his mother saw, but no one else. Michael and Uriel, just as you see us doing likewise, bury your dead. All right, we'll just stop there. This is a very short and very interesting read. Okay, which again, that was called The Life of Adam and Eve, or also it's called The Apocalypse of Moses. Okay, so also when we take account all the names, Adam, Seth, Enosh, Canaan, all the way down to Noah, some of you already know this, it's really interesting, but each name has a definition. Like Adam means man, Seth means appointed, Enosh means mortal, frail, or miserable, Canaan, sorrow, and it goes on and on. And so just to give you a quick brief overview, here are the names. So the name Adam means man, Seth means appointed, Enosh means mortal, Canaan means sorrow, Mahalalel means the blessed of Elohim, Yared means shall come down, Enoch means teaching, Methuselah his death shall bring, Lamech the despairing, Noah rest or comfort. So if you take from Adam to Noah, you essentially get the gospel. Check this out. It's pretty cool. Some of you already know this, but some of you may not. So if you take the first 10 names and you put it into a sentence, this is what it says. Man is appointed mortal sorrow, but the blessed Elohim shall come down, teaching that his death shall bring the despairing rest. Right? Unbelievable. Well, if you know who we serve, it's actually very believable. So pretty good, pretty cool stuff. All right, so now after chapter 5, let's read Jasher. Actually, we're going to read quite a bit of Jasher, so let's get going. We'll start it back at verse 37 where we left off. And Mahalalel, the son of Canaan, lived 65 years, and he begat Yared. And Yared lived 62 years, and he begat Enoch. And Enoch lived 65 years, and he begat Methuselah. And Enoch walked with Elohim after having begot Methuselah. And he served Yahuah, and despised the evil ways of men. And the soul of Enoch was wrapped up in the instruction of Yahuah, in knowledge and in understanding. And he wisely retired from the sons of men, and secreted himself from them for many days. And it was at the expiration of many years, whilst he was serving Yahuah, and praying before him in his house, that an angel of Yahuah called to him from heaven, and he said, Here am I. And he said, Rise, go forth from thy house, and from the place where thou dost hide thyself, and appear to the sons of men, in order that thou mayest teach them the way in which they should go, and the work with which they should accomplish, to enter into the ways of Elohim. And Enosh rose up according to the word of Yahuah, and went forth from his house, from his place, and from the chamber in which he was concealed. And he went to the sons of men, and taught them the ways of Yahuah. And at that time he assembled the sons of men, and acquainted them with the instruction of Yahuah. And he ordered to be proclaimed in all places where the sons of men dwelt, saying, Where is the man who wishes to know the ways of Yahuah and good works? Let him come to Enoch. And all the sons of men then assembled to him, for all who desired this thing went to Enoch. And Enoch reigned over the sons of men according to the word of Yahuah. And they came and bowed to him, and they heard his word. And the spirit of Elohim was upon Enoch, and he taught all his men the wisdom of Elohim and his ways. And the sons of men served Yahuah all the days of Enoch, and they came to hear his wisdom. And all the kings of the sons of men, both first and last, together with their princes and judges, came to Enoch when they heard of his wisdom. And they bowed down to him, and they also required of Enoch to reign over them, to which he consented. And they assembled in all 130 kings and princes, and they made Enoch king over them, and they were all under his power and commanded. And Enoch taught them wisdom, knowledge, and the ways of Yahuah, and he made peace amongst them, and peace was throughout the earth during the life of Enoch. And Enoch reigned over the sons of men 243 years, and he did justice and righteousness with all his people, and he led them in the ways of Yahuah. And these are the generations of Enoch: Methuselah, Elisha, Elimelech, 3 sons, and their sisters were Melchah, Nahama, and Methuselah lived 87 years, and he begat Lamech. And it was in the 56th year of the life of Lamech when Adam died. 930 years old was he at his death, and his 2 sons. with Enoch and Methuselah his son, burying him with great pomp, as at the burial of kings, in the cave which Elohim has told him. And in that place all the sons of men made a great mourning and weeping on the account of Adam. It has therefore become a custom among the sons of men to this day. And Adam died because he ate of the tree of knowledge, he and his children after him, as Yahuah had spoken. And it was in the year of Adam's death, which the 243rd year of the reign of Enoch. In that time Enoch resolved to separate himself from the sons of men, and to secret himself as at the first in order to serve Yahuah. And Enoch did so, but did not entirely secret himself from them, but kept away from the sons of men 3 days, and then went to them for 1 day. And during the 3 days that he was in his chamber, he prayed to and praised Yahuah his Elohim. And the day on which he went and appeared to his subjects, he taught them the ways of Yahuah, and all they asked him about Yahuah he told them. And he did in this manner for many years, and he afterward concealed himself for 6 days, and appeared to his people 1 day in 7, and after that once in a month, and then once in a year, until all the kings, princes, and sons of men sought for him, and desired again to see the face of Enoch and to hear his word. But they could not, as all the sons of men were greatly afraid of Enoch, and they feared to approach him on account of the godlike awe that was seated upon his countenance. Therefore no man could look at him, fearing he might be punished and die. And all the kings and the princes resolved to assemble the sons of men, and to come to Enoch, thinking that they might all speak to him at the time when he should come forth amongst them, and they did so. And the day came when Enoch went forth, and they all assembled and came to him. And Enoch spoke to them the words of Yahuah, and he taught them wisdom and knowledge. And they bowed down before him and said, May the king live, may the king live. And in some time after, when the kings and princes and the sons of men were speaking to Enoch, and Enoch was teaching them the ways of Elohim, behold, an angel of Yahuah then called unto Enoch from heaven, and wished to bring him up to heaven to make him reign there over the sons of Elohim, as he had reigned over the sons of men upon earth. When at that time Enoch heard this, he went and assembled all the inhabitants of the earth, and taught them wisdom and knowledge, and gave them divine instructions. And he said to them, I have been required to ascend into heaven. I therefore do not know the day of my going. And now therefore I will teach you wisdom and knowledge, and will give you instruction before I leave you, how to act upon earth whereby you may live. And he did so. And he taught them wisdom and knowledge, and gave them instruction. And he reproved them, and he placed before them statutes and judgments to do upon earth. And he made peace amongst them, and he taught them everlasting life, and dwelt with them some time, teaching them all these things. And at that time the sons of men were with Enoch, and Enoch was speaking to them, and they lifted up their eyes, and the likeness of a great horse descended from heaven, and the horse paced in the air. This sounds a lot like what happened with Elijah, right? The chariot of heaven. And they told Enoch what they had seen, and Enoch said to them, On my account does this horse descend upon the earth. The time has come when I must go from you, and I shall no more be seen by you. And the horse descended at that time, and stood before Enoch, and all the sons of men that were with Enoch saw him. And Enoch then again ordered a voice to be proclaimed, saying, Where is the man who delighteth to know the ways of Yahuah his Elohim? Let him come this day to Enoch before he is taken from us. And all the sons of men assembled and came to Enoch that day, and all the kings of the earth with their princes and counselors remained with him that day. And Enoch taught the sons of men wisdom and knowledge, and gave them divine instruction. And he bade them serve Yahuah and walk in all his ways all the days of their lives. And he continued to make peace amongst them. And it was after this that he rose up and rode upon the horse, and he went forth, and all the sons of men went after him, about 800,000 men, and they went with him 1 day's journey. And on the second day he said to them, Return home to your tents. Why will you go? Perhaps you may die. And some of them went from him, and those that remained went with him 6 days' journey. And Enoch said to them every day, Return to your tents, lest you may die. And this is the same thing that Elijah said to Elisha. Right? He's like, go back. He's like, Elisha's like, no, I won't. But they were not willing to return, and they went with him. And on the 6th day, some of the men remained and clung to him. And they said to him, We will go with you to the place where you goest. As Yahuah liveth, death only shall separate us. And they urged so much to go with him that he ceased speaking to them, and they went after him and would not return. And when the kings returned, they caused a census to be taken in order to know the number of remaining men that went with Enoch. And it was upon the 7th day that Enoch ascended into heaven in a whirlwind, with horses and chariots of fire. And on the 8th day all the kings that had been with Enoch sent to bring back the number of men that were with Enoch in that place from which he ascended into heaven. And all those kings went to the place, and they found the earth there filled with snow. And upon the snow were large stones of snow, and one said to another, Come, let us break through the snow and see, perhaps the men that remained with Enoch are dead, and are now under the stones of snow. And they searched but could not find him, for he had ascended into heaven. All right. Let's see. Okay, we'll read until verse 17. And all the days that Enoch lived upon the earth were 365 years. And when Enoch had ascended into heaven, all the kings of the earth rose and took Methuselah his son and anointed him, and they caused him to reign over them in the place of his father. And Methuselah acted uprightly in the sight of Elohim, as his father Enoch had taught him. And he likewise during the whole of his life taught the sons of men wisdom, knowledge, and the fear of Elohim. And he did not turn from the good way either to the right or to the left. But in the latter days of Methuselah the sons of men turned from Yahuah. They corrupted the earth. They robbed and plundered each other. They rebelled against Elohim, and they transgressed, and they corrupted their ways, and would not hearken to the voice of Methuselah, but rebelled against him. And Yahuah was exceedingly wroth against them, and Yahuah continued to destroy the seed in those days, so that there was neither sowing nor reaping in the earth. For when they sowed the ground in order that they might obtain food for their support, behold, thorns and thistles were produced, which they did not sow. And still the sons of men did not turn from their evil ways, and their hands were still extended to do evil in the sight of Elohim. And they provoked Yahuah with their evil ways, and Yahuah was very wroth, and repented that he had made man. And he thought to destroy and annihilate them, and he did so. In those days when Lamech the son of Methuselah was 160 years old, Seth the son of Adam died. And all the days that Seth lived were 912 years. Hang on, I'm sorry. Okay. Sorry. And Lamech was 180 years old when he took Ashuma, the daughter of Elisha, the son of Enoch, his uncle, and she conceived. At that time the sons of men sowed the ground, and a little food was produced, yet the sons of men did not turn from their evil ways, and they trespassed and rebelled against Elohim. And the wife of Lamech conceived and bare him a son at that time, at the revolution of the year. And Methuselah called his name Noah, saying, The earth was in his days at rest and free from corruption. And Lamech his father called his name Menachem, saying, This one shall comfort us in our works and miserable toil in the earth, which Elohim had cursed. And the child grew up and was weaned, and he went in the ways of his father Methuselah, perfect and upright with Elohim. And all the sons of men departed from the ways of Yahuah in those days, as they multiplied upon the face of the earth with sons and daughters, and they taught one another the evil practices, and they continued sinning against Yahuah. And every man made unto himself a god, and they robbed and plundered every man his neighbor, as well as his relative, and they corrupted the earth, and the earth was filled with violence. All right, let's take a look at Jubilees. Let's see. No. We'll skip that part. It's basically the same thing. Okay, so let's go to chapter 6. And we're just going to verse 8. But I'll just let the whole chapter play. It's a fun chapter.
Bereshiyth, Genesis, chapter 6. And it came to pass, when men began to multiply on the face of the earth, and daughters were born unto them, that the sons of Elohim saw the daughters of men, that they were fair. And they took them women of all which they chose. And Yahuah said, My ruach shall not always strive with man, for that he also is flesh, yet his days shall be 120 years. There were Nephilim in the earth in those days, and also after that, when the sons of Elohim came in unto the daughters of men, and they bore children to them. The same became giants and tyrants, which were of ancient times, men of infamy. And Yahuah saw that the wickedness of man was great in the earth, and that every imagination of the thoughts of his heart was only evil continually. And Yahuah repented that he had made man on the earth, and it grieved him at his heart. And Yahuah said, I will destroy man whom I have created from the face of the earth, both man and beast, and the creeping thing, and the fowls of the air, for I repent that I have made them. But Noah found grace in the eyes of Yahuah. These are the...
Actually, we'll just stop there. We'll leave the rest for Friday. So, okay, so this is, man, there's so much here. Let's, hang on. Okay. So this has been something that has just not been taught in the churches for a long time. This has been hidden. It's been taught that the sons of Elohim saw the daughters of men. It's being taught in seminaries this very day that these are the sons of Seth, and they lusted after them, and but if you look at the Hebrew, it's B'nai Elohim. It's the sons of Elohim. It's the angels. I think it's actually even clear in the Septuagint. Let's read the Septuagint version. This is Genesis 6 Septuagint version. It came to pass when men began to be numerous upon the earth, and daughters were born to them, that the sons of God, and it's a little note here, angels of God, having seen the daughters of men that they were beautiful, took to themselves wives of all who they chose. And Yahuah said, My spirit shall not certainly remain among those men forever, because they are flesh, but their days shall be 120 years. Now the giants were upon the earth in those days, and after that, when the sons of Elohim were wont to go into the daughters of men, right? So sons of Elohim, daughters of men, two different things. They bore children to them. Those were the giants of old, the men of renown. So that's what you get when you get an angel mating with a human. You get a giant. And it's one of the reasons why I don't subscribe to the serpent seed, that Cain was the literal offspring of Azazel, the angel, because there's no record that Cain or any of his descendants were giants, because Cain would have been one of these massive giants that we see. That's just the recipe. That's where you can get an angel and a human mating. But I know a lot of people hold to that theory, so I'm not being contentious. It's just, again, when I do these studies, it's like if we were just hanging out in my living room, that's how I'm talking with you, just giving you my opinion on the matter. Not that my opinion matters, but just it's fun to bounce ideas off each other. I wish we could do that right now, but maybe one day soon we'll be able to all hang out and do this. So let's read. We got actually a lot to read here regarding this. I want to read a little bit of Jasher and Jubilees, and then we're going to read some of the book of Enoch. So let's take a look at Jasher 4:18 through 21. So here it says, And their judges and rulers went to the daughters of men. And by the way, what's interesting is we'll find out in Jubilees that it was the very watchers who were their judges and their rulers, who were supposed to teach them righteousness, but instead decided to go into the women. So the judges and rulers went to the daughters of men and took their wives by force from their husbands, according to their choice. And the sons of men in those days took from the cattle of the earth, the beasts of the field, and the fowls of the air, and taught the mixture of animals of one species with the other, in order therewith to provoke Yahuah. And Elohim saw the whole earth, and it was corrupt, for all flesh had corrupted its ways upon the earth, all men and all animals. So now, not only do you have angels mixing with humans, now you've got humans doing like the chimera stuff. And this, I think, has a lot to do with when Yahusha said, as in the days of Noah, so shall it be in the coming of the Son of Man. This is one of the major things that, quite frankly, upset Yahuah, is that the tainting of his creation with these giants, and we'll read about here shortly in Enoch, these giants, at first they were okay, but because their appetites were so big, they would literally eat up all the food, and once all the food was gone, they started eating people, and the earth just wasn't made for them, and so now you've got the mixing of animals, you've got these chimeras, it's the same stuff we see now, like the enviro pig, which is like a mixture of a mouse and a pig, and there's so much of that going on right now. It's unbelievable, and you guys know that there's all kinds of garbage and vaccines, different stem cells from animals, from humans, from aborted fetuses. It's just all this just filth, all these things that we're not supposed to mess with. That was happening in those days. It's happening again. And Yahuah said, I will blot out man that I have created from the face of the earth, yea, from man to the birds of the air, together with the cattle and the beasts that are in the field, for I repent that I made them. And all men who walked in the ways of Yahuah died in those days, before Yahuah brought the evil upon man, which he had declared. For this was from Yahuah, that they should not see the evil which Yahuah spoke of concerning the sons of men. And Noah found grace in the sight of Yahuah, and Yahuah chose him and his children to raise up seed from them upon the face of the whole earth. And actually, we'll leave that for next time. So now let's read Jubilees 4:20. Yeah, here we go. 4:20 through 5:20, and in this is Jubilees 4:20 through Jubilees 5:20. And in the 12th Jubilee, in the 7th week thereof, he took himself a woman, and her name was Edna, the daughter of Danel, the daughter of his father's brother. In the 6th year, in this week, she bore him a son, and he called his name Methuselah. And he was moreover with the angels of Elohim these 6 jubilees of, this is talking about Enoch, these 6 jubilees of years, and they showed him everything which is on the earth and in the heavens, the rule of the sun. And he wrote down everything, and he testified to the watchers who had sinned with the daughters of men, for these had begun to unite themselves so as to be defiled with the daughters of men. And Hanok testified against them all. And he was taken from amongst the children of men, and we conducted him into the Garden of Eden in majesty and in honor. And behold, there he writes down the condemnation and judgment of the world, and all the wickedness of the children of men. So Enoch literally became like the scribe of heaven. And on account of it, Elohim brought the waters of the flood upon all the land of Eden, for there he was set as a sign that he should testify against all the children of men, that he should recount all the deeds of the generation until the day of condemnation. And he burnt the incense of the sanctuary, even sweet spices acceptable before Yahuah on the mount. For Yahuah has 4 places on the earth, the Garden of Eden, and the Mount of the East, and this mountain on which you are this day, Mount Sinai, and Mount Zion, which will be sanctified in the new creation for a sanctification of the earth. Through it will the earth be sanctified from all its guilt and its uncleanness through the generations of the world. And in the 14th Jubilee, Methuselah took unto himself a woman, Edna, the daughter of Azariel, the daughter of his father's brother, in the 3rd week, in the 1st year of this week, and he begat a son, and called his name Lamech. And in the 15th Jubilee, in the 3rd week, Lamech took to himself a woman, and her name was Betenos, the daughter of Barachiel, the daughter of his father's brother. And in this week she bore him a son, and he called his name Noach, saying, This one will comfort me for all my trouble and all my work for the ground which Yahuah has cursed. And at the close of the 19th Jubilee, in the 17th week, in the 6th year thereof, Adam died, and all his sons buried him in the land of his creation, and he was the first to be buried in the earth. And he lacked 70 years of 1,000 years, for 1,000 years are as one day. This is what I think where Peter gets this from. In the testimony of the heavens, and therefore was it written concerning the tree of knowledge, on the day that ye eat thereof, ye shall die. For this reason he did not complete the years of this day, for he died during it. At the close of this jubilee, Cain was killed after him in the same year. For his house fell upon him, and he died in the midst of his house. And he was killed by its stones. For with a stone he had killed Havel, and by a stone he was killed in a righteous judgment. And this is, you can see there's a contradiction between this and Jasher, at least at first glance. But I've got something I want to share with you regarding this. Something our brother Jeremy wrote, Jeremy Fox, who is one of our moderators. He may or may not be in here tonight. For this reason it was ordained on the heavenly tablets, with the instrument with which a man kills his neighbor, with the same shall he be killed. After the manner that he wounded him, in like manner shall he deal with him. And in the 25th Jubilee, Noach took to himself a woman. Her name was Emzara, the daughter of Rachael, the daughter of his father's brother, in the 1st year, in the 5th week, and in the 3rd year thereof she bore him Shem. In the 5th year thereof she bore him Ham, and in the 1st year, in the 6th week, she bore him Japheth. And so let's pause real quick. So let's talk about the apparent contradiction in Jasher, where Tubal-Cain and Lamech kill Cain with a bow and arrow, versus Jubilees, where it says his house literally fell on top of him. This is on the Christian Truthers website. This was written by, again, Jeremy Fox, who is one of our moderators, and he may or may not be in the chat right now. But it says contradictions, Yashar, Jubilees, and the death of Cain. So let's read this. Remember the former things of old, for I am El, and there is none else. I am Elohim, there is none like me, declaring the end from the beginning, and from ancient times things that are not yet done, saying, my counsel shall stand, and I shall do all my pleasure. Reading the books of Jasher and Jubilees was a great joy to me, and I am grateful to Dr. Pigeon for their inclusion in the publication of the Eth Sefer. Me too. I remember the first time when I read through the book of Joshua, when it mentioned in 10:13, is it not written in the Sefer of Yashar, the book of Jasher? I thought, what's that? And where is that? Now, 20 years later, I have read this book and other extra biblical texts. In trying to understand these texts, I looked up the objections against both books. One of the biggest objections I found was the contradictory nature between the two accounts of Cain's death. Let's take a look at both accounts. And Lamech was actually, we just read both of these, so I don't want to take the time. So we basically read how Lamech and Tubal-Cain think that Cain's like an animal, and they kill him with a bow and arrow. And Jerry says, simple, straightforward, makes sense. How does this compare to what's in the Torah? And Lamech said to his woman, Ada and Zillah, hear my voice, you women of Lamech, hearken unto my speech, for I have slain a man to my wounding, and a young man to my hurt. If Cain shall be avenged sevenfold, truly Lamech 77-fold. For I have slain a man to my wounding, and a young man to my hurt. He just killed 2 people by accident, as recounted in the book of Jasher. I agree. And so here's the Jubilees one. This talks about how his house and the stones fell on top of him. So here goes Jeremy. He says, what? That's not even close to the account of Jasher, or is it? First, let's go back to Genesis. This is Genesis 9:5-6. And surely your blood of your lives will I require. At the hand of every beast will I require it, at the hand of man, at the hand of every man's brother will I require the life of man. Whoso sheds man's blood, by man shall his blood be shed. For in the image of Elohim made he man. That is essentially the same as what the book of Jubilees claims was ordained on the heavenly tablets. So both books are in line with aspects of Genesis and their recounting of the death of Cain. Since Genesis doesn't come right out and say, and this is how Cain, the son of Adam, died, so we need to play detective. What does the book of Jubilees claim to be? And he, Yahuah, said to the angel of the presence, write for Moshe from the beginning of creation till my sanctuary has been built among them for all eternity. And Yahuah will appear to the eyes of all, and all shall know that I am the Elohim of Israel, and the father of all the children of Yaakov, and the king of Mount Zion for all eternity. And Zion and Jerusalem shall be holy. And the angel of the presence who went before the camp of Israel took the tablets of the divisions of the years from the time of the creation of the Torah and of the testimony of the weeks of the Jubilees according to the individual years, from the day of the new creation, when the heavens and the earth shall be renewed, and all their creation according to the powers of the heaven, and according to all the creation of the earth, until the sanctuary of Yahuah shall be made in Jerusalem on Mount Zion, and all the luminaries be renewed for healing and for peace and for blessing for all the elect of Israel, and that thus may be from that day unto all the days of the earth. The book of Jubilees is a second witness to Genesis, which is exactly what we should expect to find. Yahuah loves his Torah and follows his own law. In the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses shall a matter be established. So the passage about Cain's death in Jubilees is given to Moshe by an angelic being and given with a law about justice. It was thus written from an eternal perspective of justice in a poetic language. Who killed Cain? His house fell upon him, and he died in the midst of his house. Lamech and Tubal-Cain were his grandchildren. They were of Cain's house. If the stones of a house fall in on the owner or / builder, it would be considered an accident. Lamech and Tubal-Cain thought Cain was an animal, and they killed him, not even knowing he was a human, an accident. And he was killed by stones, just as Lamech and Tubal-Cain were stones that built Cain's house. Think in the terms of a family tree. For with a stone he killed Havel, so was he also a stone in Adam's house, and by a stone was he killed in righteous judgment. I believe these are two different accounts from two different perspectives of one single incident. They are merely written in two different ways, one telling the story in a play-by-play fashion, and the other in a more poetic version, referencing the stones as members of a family tree, both saying the same thing, merely in two different ways, thus giving us different perspectives. Perspectives can make all the difference, and Yahweh's perspective is perfect. Great job, Jeremy. And I agree. I don't think there's any contradiction there. All right, so we're going to read Jubilees through verse 20, chapter 5 through verse 20, and they're going to read up some Enoch, and then we'll finish up this portion. And it came to pass, when the children of men began to multiply on the face of the earth, and daughters were born unto them, that the angels of Elohim saw them on a certain year of this Jubilee, that they were beautiful to look upon. So this one says it really specifically, the angels of Elohim. They were beautiful to look upon, and they took themselves women of all whom they chose, and they bore unto them sons, and they were Nephilim. And iniquity increased on the earth, and all flesh corrupted its way, alike men and cattle and beasts and birds and everything that walks on the earth. All of them corrupted their ways and their orders, and they began to devour each other. And iniquity increased on the earth, and every imagination of the thoughts of all men was thus evil continually. And Elohim looked upon the earth, and behold, it was corrupt, and all flesh had corrupted its orders, and all that were upon the earth had wrought all manner of evil before his eyes. And he said that he would destroy men, and all flesh upon the face of the earth which he had created. But Noach found grace before the eyes of Yahuah. And against the angels whom he had sent upon the earth, he was exceedingly wroth, and he gave commandment to root them out of all their dominion, and he bade us to bind them in the depths of the earth, which we'll see in Enoch chapter 10. And behold, they are bound in the midst of them, and are kept separate. And against their sons went forth a command from before his face, that they should be smitten with a sword, and be removed from under heaven. We'll see this also. Another witness to this in Enoch. It's like the same words. And he said, My ruach shall not always abide on man, for they are also flesh, and their days shall be 120 years. And he sent his sword into their midst, that each should slay his neighbor. And they began to slay each other, till all fell by the sword, and were destroyed from the earth. And their fathers were witnesses of their destruction, and after this they were bound in the depths of the earth forever, until the day of the great condemnation, when judgment is executed on all those who have corrupted their ways and their works before Yahuah. And he destroyed all from their places, and there was not left one of them whom he judged not according to all their wickedness. And he made for all his works a new and righteous nature, so that they should not sin in their whole nature forever, but should be all righteous, each in his kind always. And the judgment of all is ordained and written on the heavenly tablets, in righteousness even the judgment of all who depart from the path which is ordained for them to walk in. And if they walk not therein, judgment is written down for every creature and for every kind. And there is nothing in heaven or on earth, or in light or in darkness, or in Sheol or in the depth, or in the place of darkness, which is not judged. And all their judgments are ordained and written and engraved. In regard to all he will judge, the great according to his greatness, and the small according to his smallness, and each according to his way. And he is not one who will regard the person of any, nor is he one who will receive gifts. If he says that he will execute judgment on each, if one gave everything that is on the earth, he will not regard the gifts or the person of any, nor accept anything at his hands, for he is a righteous judge. And of the children of Israel it has been written and ordained, if they turn to him in righteousness, he will forgive all their transgressions and pardon and all their sins. This is written in the book of Deuteronomy as well. It's very clear. And Manasseh, in the prayer of Manasseh, he quotes this as well. It is written and ordained that he will show mercy to all who turn from their guilt once each year. And as for all those who corrupt their ways and thoughts before the flood, no man's person was accepted save that of Noach alone. For his person was accepted in behalf of his sons, whom Elohim saved from the waters of the flood on his account. For his heart was righteous in all his ways, according as it was commanded regarding him, and he had not departed from aught that was ordained for him. And Yahuah said that he would destroy everything which was upon the earth, both men, cattle, and beasts, and fowls of the air, and that which moves on the earth. So that's, I wanted to read you again the Jasher and the Jubilees account. It kind of fills some holes because Genesis is very brief. I mean, honestly, if Genesis had all the details, Genesis as it is like a 3 hour and 45-minute read. If all the details were in there, it would be like a 10-hour book, at least, all the details of what happened back then. So, Yahuah had his reasonings to keep things, I guess, brief in the Torah. But, for those that want to search the matter out, the book of Jubilees and Jasher, reading alongside Genesis or the whole Torah is absolutely amazing. It's one of the, I don't know, it's just amazing. I would highly recommend it. But that's kind of what we're going to do during these Torah portions. So if you haven't done it yet, you should enjoy at least Genesis and Exodus. You can get so much understanding by reading these 3 books, or reading the Torah and, again, Jasher and Jubilees alongside of it. So let's go back to this whole concept of angels coming down, mating with women, corrupting the earth. This is a huge concept that was really one of the first truth or topics a lot of you out there had come across. Of course, after, searching out some of the truths of this world from a biblical perspective, giants, fallen angels, what demons really are, is pretty profound. And it's really important for us to understand, I think, in these last days of this matter. So, and one of the most important books we could read, quite frankly, is Enoch. Outside of the canon, Enoch to Esdras to Baruch are some of the most important books, and I think Enoch is the most important book outside of the canon that we should read and should understand. The whole book starts off with Enoch saying that, this book that I'm writing, it's not for this generation, but for a remote one, which will be living in the last days when the godless will be removed, those that will be living in the days of tribulation. So it's literally written for us, and there's just so much to it. So we're going to read Enoch chapters 6 through 10, which kind of goes over some of the basics of what's going on. And it came to pass when the children of men had multiplied that in those days were born unto them beautiful and comely daughters. And the angels, the children of heaven, saw and lusted after them, and said one to another, Come, let us choose wives from among the children of men, and beget us children. And Semyaza, who was their leader, said unto them, I fear ye will not indeed agree to do this thing, and I alone shall have to pay the penalty of a great sin. And they all answered him and said, Let us all swear an oath, and bind ourselves by mutual imprecations, not to abandon this plan, but to do this thing. Then swore they all together, and bound themselves by mutual imprecations upon it. And they were in all 200 who descended in the days of Yared on the summit of Mount Hermon. And they called it Mount Hermon because they had sworn and bound themselves by mutual imprecations upon it. And these the names of their leaders: Semyazaz, their leader, Arakiba, Rameel, Kokabel, Tamiel, Rameel, Danel, Ezekiel, Barakichal, Asael, Armaros, Batarel, Ananel, Zakiel, Samsapeel, Satarel, Turel, Yomyael, Sariel. These are the chiefs of tens. Chapter 7. And all the others together with them took unto themselves wives, and each chose for himself one. And they began to go in unto them, and to defile themselves with them. And they taught them charms, enchantments, the cutting of roots, and made them acquainted with plants. And they became pregnant, and they bare great giants, whose height was 3,000 ells. And, obviously these watchers are teaching the children of men some bad things. But, I've seen some people, they're like, they taught them, how to be acquainted with plants, so therefore plants must be bad. That's not the case. And we'll see a couple more things that they taught. Like cutting roots. I mean, like ginger is a root, and that's good for you. A carrot is a root, and that's good for you. You know what I mean? But I think what they were doing here was teaching them like alchemy, teaching them to take things from the earth and, with mixtures, turning them into, some sort of like, I guess, using them for enchantments or whatever have you. But it doesn't make the plant bad. If they use a plant for a bad thing, it doesn't make the plants bad. They became pregnant, and they bare great giants, whose height was 3,000 ells. There's a lot of discussion as to exactly how tall this was. I don't really have a dog in this fight. I'm just here to say that they were pretty tall. Yeah. Who consumed all the acquisitions of men. I mean, think about it. If these people were like 3,000 times bigger than a man, then they were 300 to 3,000 times more hungry than them. And they could eat, they would be eating, as if they were 300 people or 3,000 people, however big they actually were, regardless. I mean, think about it. They had to eat so much food. So it says, who consumed all the acquisitions of men, and when men could no longer sustain them, the giants turned against them and devoured mankind. And they began to sin against birds and beasts and reptiles and fish, and to devour one another's flesh and drink the blood. Then the earth laid accusation against the lawless ones. Chapter 8, and Azazel taught men to make swords and knives and shields and breastplates. So let's stop there. So Azazel taught them to make swords, but we see King David carrying a sword. We saw Peter cut off the ear of, what was his name? Melka? No. Whatever his name was. He cut off his ear. He had a sword, right? So, it's just, I guess, at this point, it had not been revealed to them, and they just literally like showed them all the technology just like that, and that's why these fallen angels became gods to them. Knives and shields and breastplates, and made known to them the metals of the earth and the art of working them, which we later found out that the tabernacle was adorned with instruments that men that knew the art of working them. Bracelets and ornaments, and the use of antimony, and the beautifying of the eyelids. This was where the origin of makeup, and all kinds of costly stones and all coloring tinctures. And there arose much godlessness, and they committed fornication, and they were led astray and became corrupt in all their ways. Semyaza taught enchantments and root cuttings, Armaros the resolving of enchantments. Barakihal taught astrology, Kokabel the constellations, Ezekiel the knowledge of the clouds, Arakiel the signs of the earth, Shamsiel the signs of the sun, and Sariel the course of the moon. And as men perished, they cried, and their cry went up to heaven. Chapter 9. And then Michael, Uriel, Raphael, and Gabriel looked down from heaven and saw much blood being shed upon the earth, and all lawlessness being wrought upon the earth. And they said one to another, the earth, made without inhabitant, cries the voice of their crying up to the gates of heaven. And now you, the holy ones of heaven, the souls of men make their suit, saying, bring our cause before the Most High. And they said to Yahuah of the ages, Adonai of Adonais, of Adonim, Elohim of Elohim, King of kings, and Elohim of the ages, the throne of thy glory standeth unto all the generations of the ages, and thy name holy and glorious and blessed unto all the ages. Thou hast made all things, and power over all things hast thou. And all things are naked and open in thy sight, and thou seest all things, and nothing can hide itself from you. Thou seest what Azazel hath done, who hath taught all unrighteousness on earth, and revealed the eternal secrets which were preserved in heaven. So, like, the secrets of, swords and knives and breastplates, that hadn't been revealed to men, but it was in heaven, because we see that, remember the angel of Yahuah standing in the way, blocking Balaam. He drew a sword. So the sword itself isn't a bad thing. It just wasn't supposed to be taught to the sons of men at this point, and that secret was revealed to them. Right, so it says here, who taught all unrighteousness on the earth, and revealed the eternal secrets which were preserved in heaven, which men were striving to learn. And so then these watchers came down, acted like they were gods, and be like, we'll show you. And Semyaza, to whom thou hast given authority to bear rule over his associates, and they have gone to the daughters of men upon the earth, and have slept with the women, and have defiled themselves, and revealed to them all kinds of sins. And the women have borne giants, and the whole earth has been thereby filled with blood and unrighteousness. And now, behold, the souls of those who have died are crying and making their suit to the gates of heaven, and their lamentations have ascended and cannot cease, because of the lawless deeds which are wrought on the earth. And thou knowest all things before they come to pass, and thou seest these things, and thou dost suffer them, and thou dost not say to us what we are to do to them in regard to these. This is like a petition of the archangels to Yahuah. And here we go. Here's his answer, chapter 10. Then said the Most High, the Holy and Great One spake, and sent Uriel to the son of Lamech, and said to him, Go to Noah, and tell him in my name, hide thyself, and reveal to him the end that is approaching, that the whole earth will be destroyed, and a deluge is about to come upon the whole earth, and will destroy all that is upon it. And now instruct him that he may escape, and his seed may be preserved for all the generations of the world. And again Yahuah said to Raphael, Bind Azazel, hand and foot, and cast him into the darkness, and make an opening in the desert which is in Dudael, and cast him therein, and place upon him rough and jagged rocks, and cover him with darkness, and let him abide there forever, and cover his face that he may not see light. And on the day of the great judgment he shall be cast into the fire, and heal the earth, which the angels have corrupted, and proclaim the healing of the earth, that they may heal the plague, that all the children of men may not perish through all the secret things that the watchers have disclosed and have taught their sons. And the whole earth has been corrupted through the work that were taught by Azazel. To him ascribe all sin. We discussed this quite at length when we did the Day of Atonement study, when we went through Leviticus chapter 16, that once a year all the sin was placed on the scapegoat. The scapegoat was sent into the desert, to the wilderness. And that was for Azazel. And to Gabriel said Yahuah, Proceed against the bastards and the reprobates, against the children of fornication, and destroy the children of fornication and the children of the watchers from amongst men, and cause them to go forth. Send them one against the other, that they may destroy each other in battle. For length of days shall they not have. And no request that they their fathers make of thee shall be granted unto their fathers in their behalf. For they hope to live in eternal life, and that each one of them will live 500 years. And Yahuah said to Michael, Go, bind Semyaza and his associates, who have united themselves with women, so as to have defiled themselves with them in all their uncleanness. And when their sons have slain one another, and they have seen the destruction of their beloved ones, bind them fast for 70 generations in the valleys of the earth. And this is really interesting, because there's also another prophecy later on in Enoch. I think it's chapter 56. I'm not sure. But regardless, it says, In those days the angels shall return and hurl themselves to the Parthians and the Medes. Basically, they're going to go to the kings of the earth and get them ready for the last days. And a lot of people have pinpointed the 70 generations to roughly, there's different calculations, but most calculations land between mid 1800s to the early 1900s, or even the early 1800s to the early 1900s. That's about a 100-year window, and it's no wonder that was when the technology boom exploded. I mean, literally everything was horse and buggy until right then, and then just boom. Now we're here with airplanes and cars, and the hoverboard's still not here yet. Still waiting for that, but there's definitely there's so much technology revealed in the last 150 years that I can't think it's anything else but the Watchers that have come back and taught this technology again. So it's a really interesting study, and it's something that we went over quite in depth during our Enoch line by line study. It's in one of the playlists if you're interested to learn more about that. But I do believe we are living in the days where the Watchers have been released and have come back. So it's really interesting. And also, it doesn't say it here, but we're going to stop here anyways. But it says in another passage elsewhere, it might even be in Jubilees, where it says that the departed spirits from a giant has no resting place down in Sheol. Sheol has two compartments for the righteous who are guarded in eternal in peace and sleep, and you have the other side of torment. We saw that in a parable that Yahusha taught about the beggar and the rich man, where the beggar was in Abraham's bosom, and the rich man was in flames, and he says, just dip a little, I just want to dip my finger in water and cool off my tongue, because he was on just burning up. He was hot, and but regardless, there was no habitations prepared for there's Nephilim, which is the departed spirit of a giant, because they're the offspring of angel and man, and so their spirits roam around, and these departed spirits became the demons. These are the demons that afflict, torment, oppress the children of men. And yeah, I think it's Jubilees 10. If you want to read a little more about that and where the origin of demons came from, chapter 10 is sheds quite a bit of light on that. But regardless, really interesting portion, and man, just there's so much to be said. So much to be said for this. And so yeah, between Friday night and tonight, this became like a 3.5, almost a 4-hour Torah portion. So that's why we split it up in 2 parts. But quite frankly, there's so much more we can go over, but I like to keep these, somewhat reasonable length of time. And yeah, I'm ready for next week. We got Noah, we got the flood, and we're going to continue to parallel Jasher, Jubilees, and the canon side by side, so we can get the full understanding of that. But anyways, it's good to be with you all. Just want to say shalom to the chat real quick. Sister Windfeather, Brooke G, Montana Mike, what's going on, bro? Teshua Yisrael, Amy Wood, hey sister, good to see you. What is going on? Mark Demel, what's going on, brother? Good to see you. Anyways, we'll see you all in a few days. We'll probably continue on the Revelation study, and we'll do Torah portion week 2, Noah. So we'll end with a prayer, the blessing, and we'll do the song of Moshe. Stephen Schofield, good to see you, bro. Sister Maria, Honeymoon Stitch, Christina Race, Dario, Deborah Fagan, shalom. Amy Wood, how do you say the name of the band that sings Psalm 23? Mikadem? Yeah. Mary Holly, sister, good to see you. Hope Jim's doing well. Dylan, how long are you going to grow your hair? Pretty long. It's going to be a while. It's going to be a while till I cut it. Nicole Powell, hey sister, good to see you. Good to see you. Josh Patzek, good to see you, bro. Connie, what's going on, Connie Dover? Good to see you. Anyways, all right, brothers and sisters, let's pray. Heavenly Father, Yahuah, we just come before you in Yahusha's name. We thank you again for allowing us to study your word together like this, and we just long for the day that we get to do this forever in New Jerusalem. Till that day, we just pray that you continue to be with us, to strengthen us, to guide us, to bless us, and of course we bless you and thank you for your creation, for creating us in your image. And as the psalmist wrote, we are fearfully made. Yahuah, we love you, we bless you, and may you cultivate our hearts to bring forth the fruit you desire from us. We want to be pleasing in your sight, and we want to do what's right in your eyes. Help us that we may walk humbly and righteously before you. We love you. Amen and amen. So, Yevarechecha Yahuah ve'yishmerecha Ya'er Yahuah panav elecha v'chuneka Yisa Yahuah panav elecha ve'yasem lecha shalom. Yahuah bless you and keep you. Yahuah make his face shine upon you and be gracious unto you. Yahuah lift up his countenance upon you and give you shalom. Brothers and sisters, have a great night, and we'll see you in a few days. We'll do the song of Moshe as we finish tonight. Shalom.
I sing to Yahuah, for he is highly exalted. The horse and its rider he has thrown into the sea. Yah is my strength and song, and he has become my deliverance. He is my El, and I praise him, Elohim of my father, and I exalt him. Yahuah is a man of battle, Yahuah is his name. He has cast Pharaoh's chariots and his army into the sea, and his chosen officers are drowned in the sea of reeds. The depths covered them, they went down to the bottom like a stone. Your right hand, O Yahuah, has become great in power. Your right hand, O Yahuah, has crushed the enemy. And in the greatness of your excellence, you pulled down those who rose up against you. You sent forth your wrath, it consumed them like stubble, and with the wind of your nostrils, the waters were heaped up. The floods stood like a wall, the depths became stiff in the heart of the sea. The enemy said, I pursue, I overtake, I divide the spoil, my being is satisfied on them. I draw out my sword, my hand destroys them. You blew with your wind, the sea covered them, they sank like lead in the mighty waters. Who is like you, O Yahuah, among the mighty ones? Who is like you, great in Kodeshah, awesome in praises, working wonders? You stretched out your right hand, the earth swallowed them. In your kindness you led the people whom you have redeemed. In your strength you guided them to your Kodesh dwelling. Peoples heard, they trembled, anguish gripped the inhabitants of Bereshiyth. Then the chiefs of Edom were troubled, the mighty men of Moab. Trembling grips them, all the inhabitants of Canaan melted. Fear and dread fell on them by the greatness of your arm. They are as silent as a stone, until your people pass over, O Yahuah. Until the people whom you have bought pass over. You bring them in and plant them in the mountain of your inheritance, in the place, O Yahuah, which you have made for your own dwelling, the Mikdash, O Yahuah, which your hands have prepared. Yahuah reigns forever and ever.